Though I walk into the valley of death, I fear no evil, for CJ Bailey is with me.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Tuesday sponsor is FanDuel. Right now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Happy Tuesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we talked about the possibility of this in Saturday's postgame. We talked more about potentially hearing it on Monday, and then we did, in fact, get the decision passed down from head coach Dave Doeren. Freshman CJ Bailey will be our quarterback as we head down to Death Valley and the Clemson Tigers this weekend. Grayson McCall has been listed as day-to-day by head coach Dave Doeren, more or less the exact kind of wording we expected to hear. They're going to keep things close to the vest, as respectful as they can to Grayson and his situation. However, we also need to be moving forward with CJ Bailey because we have the biggest game of the rest of the season coming up on this Saturday. Kenton, now that CJ is officially QB1, what are some of the most important things you're looking to see from him against Clemson?
Good decision-making and let it rip. You know, like if you do those two things, you'll be just fine. I know there will be moments where you show that you were slow dancing at prom 6 months ago and you let one fly that's just like, what are you doing? I expect it, right? Like, and let me make this clear. I am not expecting CJ to play well in this game. Based upon what I've seen from our offensive line, Clemson's defensive line, and his lack of experience overall, I'm not expecting a banner performance from CJ. I would be shocked if he does. I have been proven wrong many a time this season so far. I'd love to be proven wrong again here, but I would be shocked if he plays well. All I'm expecting from him, don't hesitate. Don't be scared. Don't be timid. Let it all hang out. If you're going to lose with nothing left in the clip. Don't go down where it's like, oh, man, I could have taken this shot. It's all right. It's okay. You are a true freshman. I expect turnover-worthy plays. I expect it. Just don't do too much. Don't get outside of yourself and let it in.
I hate to bring him up, but very similar to MJ Morris entering at quarterback last season, I think Robert and I did a fairly good job of simplifying the offense to make it just easier for a guy that doesn't have a whole lot of experience. I would expect a very similar type of game plan for CJ coming into Clemson. We've talked about how hard it is to go into Clemson and not just play well, but leave there with a win. Jackson Williford on Twitter asked, when was the last time a true freshman went down to Clemson and came out with the win? It was 2007. Tyrod Taylor with the Virginia Tech Hokies. This type of situation has not gone well in the last 17 years. It's a very tall task for CJ to not only play extremely well against Clemson, but lead us to victory down there. So with all that being said, yes, it's going to be very difficult because Clemson is going to try and bring as much pressure as they possibly can and force a freshman into freshman decisions. It'll be very important that the offense is more or less dumbed down. I don't want to say dumbed down, but just simplified to a sense where all you need to do, get the ball into the hands of the playmakers, and they handle the rest. The offensive line has their most important task of probably the rest of the season. You have got to keep CJ Bailey on his feet as often as possible. If Clemson is repeatedly knocking him down, putting him on his back, it's going to be a really long game. And again, that more or less may be the case based on what we've seen out of both units. So it's a tough situation for a freshman to walk into, but with that raw talent that CJ possesses, and we talked about on Saturday, perhaps he could make a little bit of noise.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying it's impossible that he has a good game. I'm saying I'm not expecting it. I'm not going to waste my expectations in that, oh, yeah, I know that he's going to do great. Listen, this is a true freshman. And like I said in the past, because people seem to misconstrue me saying, hey, I'm going to lose with a freshman regime to mean anything else but that. When I say if I'm going to be bad, I'm going to be bad with a freshman regime, I mean that. I expect not good out of the offense. I get it. CJ is a shot in the arm. I'd love for him to be such a shot in the arm that it's now like, oh, we in there. We can now beat anybody because we have CJ. I would love that. We see it up at Pitt right now with the guy who was not the starter out of camp. Nate Yarnell was the one who went to ACC Media Days and all that. And yet somehow Eli Holstein just looks like he's been there for forever. He looks like the second coming to Dan Marino, for Christ's sake. I would love to see CJ do that. I am not going to make those my expectations because it's not fair to him. And honestly, it's not fair to myself to expect this offense to overnight get everything turned around in a significant way. It just, that's just a nonsensical kind of moment there. So I expect CJ to make some mistakes, but I just want to see him play loose, play free. Don't pat the baby. Don't just let that thing rip, man.
The other half of that Tyrod Taylor story I just mentioned, Virginia Tech won that game, but they had a punt return touchdown, a kick return touchdown, and a pick six for a touchdown. The basis of winning at Clemson with a young, inexperienced quarterback, the whole team has to play a level above to help out that young, inexperienced quarterback. It will be, quote unquote, all hands on deck, like Dave Doeren said in his media availability on Monday. It's going to take all three facets of this football game to ensure that CJ Bailey doesn't have to do it all by himself. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. He more than likely cannot do it by himself. Most quarterbacks that go into Clemson can't do it by themselves. And that doesn't matter whether they're a freshman or a 6-year grad senior transfer. It's so hard to go down in Clemson and get a win that your team has to help you out as much as they possibly can. The small pocket of optimism coming into this game for CJ Bailey, it lies in the little bits and pieces of what we saw on Saturday against Louisiana Tech. He's not afraid to try and fit a ball into a really tight window. He just lets it rip. That type of mentality, that's what you have to stick to if you want a chance at beating Clemson and Death Valley. You have to be absolutely fearless because their defense, their coaching staff, and their fan base, they can smell fear. And I don't mean to make them out to be something that they're not, but again, it's just a really hard place to go win a football game. Everything is going to have to go well for CJ if we do have a real chance at this. The odds are definitely not in our favor. It's a tall order, but the whole team has to rally around this quarterback change and ensure that CJ Bailey has that confidence moving forward.
If it's the tall order, thank God we got a quarterback who's about, 6'5", 6'6". We'll figure it out. I hope that he can get it done. I'm excited to see what he has. My whole thing about this, and let me make this clear because I know folks like to come back and keep receipts. Oh, your guy didn't win. My whole thought about this is simple. If you don't have 100% certainty, or not even 100%, if you don't have at least 80, 75, 80% certainty, hey, I feel good about the senior as opposed to the freshman. The senior gives me a better chance to win. If you don't feel that, if you feel like it's a coin toss, go with the freshman. Because it's a coin toss when that guy's young and has room to grow. It's a coin toss when your senior is about to get ready to learn some accounting. That's, he's getting ready to go to one of the big three firms. I mean, hey, congratulations to EY on their newest guy, but yeah, that's not, that's not what you want to see in terms of whether or not your team is going to be good going forward. You don't want to be so short-sighted that you're like, oh, right now, what's going on? And in this situation, I think even in the short-sighted venue, I'm not looking at this as a case where CJ is putting you in a worse position. So I'm not saying he's going to be great. Not saying he's going to set the world on fire. What I am saying is he's the best option we have.
Coming up next, we're going to get into a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something after a quick word from our sponsors. Locked On Wolfpack listeners, our first sponsor of the day is Roy. Have you heard about Roy? It stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved with NIL like never before. You can make contributions directly to all of your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As you all know, NIL has changed the game for collegiate athletes. Roy changes the NIL game for fans. When fans contribute to a successful campaign, they receive access to exclusive content from the athlete, such as their announcement decision, behind-the-scenes footage, and other personal reflections, all of which are available to only the fans who supported the athlete. By using Roy, fans not only support athletes financially, but also become part of the name, image, and likeness journey, helping them succeed both on and off the field. Download Roy for iOS or Android and use referral code Locked On. You'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Join Roy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary and void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and get into the NIL game with Roy. Middle portion of our Tuesday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing, a whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. So on Saturday against Louisiana Tech, both quarterbacks had roughly 2 quarters of play. Grayson McCall had a passer rating of 104.1. CJ Bailey had a passer rating of 120.5. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. Let it rip. Let it rip. Okay, I was a huge fan of Beyblade growing up. And you know what they would say before they released the actual blades? Let it rip.
I'm hip. I knew what that was.
You got to let that thing go, man. And CJ showed a lack of reluctance to let it go. Did it lead into some bad situations? Yeah, for sure. But you know what it also led to? Did Noah Rogers not look like Noah Rogers out there?
Finally.
Dakari Collins. Baby, welcome to the party. Wait to see. Love to see him. Love to see me some Dakari Collins showing up, because that's a big body receiver that can not only separate vertically, but he's showing us the tackle breaking ability as well. And I'll tell you, you want to talk about a guy that's looking for some get back, guy that's looking for some revenge going into Death Valley. You know what I mean? Who else? Who else would want to be the guy? So, you know, I look at this and I say it's a whole lot of something, because, again, to me, there was nothing that we were asking Grayson McCall to execute that was that different or special. That was like, hey, this is high-level stuff, and this is not something that we give to a young guy. So I just think the execution was a little better from CJ.
Yeah, it's definitely a whole lot of something. And I think oftentimes when you're looking at quarterbacks, it can be apples to oranges. In this game, you had basically 2 quarters against the very same defense. And we talked on Saturday in the post game, you felt that instant boost once CJ came into the game, outside of the freshman interception, of course. But CJ just felt like he had more of an ability to stretch the field using guys like Noah Rogers, Dakari Collins. A lot of people make a lot of the zip that McCall's throws have, which has honestly not really been a lot. It seems like a lot of the throws feel wobbly. They feel unsure of himself. With CJ Bailey, you didn't have that problem at all. He's slinging it in there without even thinking twice about it. And again, not only is that the mindset you need headed into Clemson, that's just the mindset you need in general. Like the whole rest of the season, your quarterback has got to play fearless if this team wants to try and reach his max potential. So the pass rating is just one metric that kind of proves that you did see what you thought you saw. CJ provides that spark that the offense has been missing. Second one here, in 3 games so far, NC State's offense has just a 45% success rate in third down conversions. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
I'd say whole lot of nothing, because we have not put ourselves in good positions, and there were multiple positions that I think will look better going forward offensively. And I'm not just talking about the quarterback position. I think that we're figuring out more things and who works and fits where in live action so far. So I'd say a whole lot of nothing.
I agree. I also think it's a whole lot of nothing, but mostly because we've struggled on first and second down as well. The offense as a whole has just not been what we expected it to be so far. And sure, a 45% success rate on third downs, it doesn't look great. And you need that to be a lot better to help yourself sustain drives. But the offense as a complete unit hasn't been good on virtually any down. I think most of our success has been on first downs, but that came from the Western game. The last couple games, it's just been so ugly that you can't really point to one down where you struggle the most. We're struggling all over the place. So this does need to be cleaned up, but it's a multitude of things that are hopefully cleaned up once CJ Bailey comes into the fray. So for right now, whole lot of nothing. Last one here, and this actually will lead us directly into our Locked On Look of the Week. NC State has returned a pick 6 in back-to-back games, both of which were forced by Davin Vann hitting the quarterback. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. Davin Vann is a stud and a half. That young man can get it done in any kind of way. One of the deflections was a straight rush. The other was a blitz that was schemed up and called perfectly by Tony Gibson right when it was called. But I'm going to tell you, Davin Vann, he's a bad man. He is something different, and I enjoy watching him play the game.
You talk about senior leadership and somebody stepping up on the defense at times where this team really needs it. That's been Davin Van in back-to-back games. And yeah, Tennessee game at that point was a little bit out of hand, but Davin Van doesn't give up. He leads by example, and him forcing himself into the backfield and hitting Nico and then hitting Jack Turner last week at Louisiana Tech, it changes the game. The pick six that we returned against Louisiana Tech, that changed the entire dynamic of the game. One play. We saw how quickly it can happen against Tennessee. It also happened against Louisiana Tech. So Davin Van leading by example and being that senior leader in moments where we really needed one. Moments like that can reroute the trajectory of your season. So we need a whole lot more of this from Davin Van. We're probably going to need more of this, especially in Clemson, to give your defense and your freshman quarterback a shot in this game. He needs to continue to be that force, that leader, that voice of reason, so to speak, on the defense. Davin Van in these two situations and the whole season in general, he's been definitely a whole lot of something. Coming up next, we're getting into that Locked On Look of the Week after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second sponsor of the day is FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, but that's because it's America's #1 sports book. Right now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you'll need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and if you choose, you can cancel at any time. Head on over to FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. Last couple of minutes of our Tuesday show. Now time for the Locked On Look of the Week. This is one of everybody's favorite segments. Kenton, what do you have for us today?
This is what we like to call simulated pressure, right? What does that mean? Well, actually, this is an actual blitz. So let me not call it simulated pressure. This is an actual dog, but this is one of those dogs that deceives you. It plays with your eyes a little bit. It messes with you a little bit. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, all of the dotted lines represent man coverage from the guy that is starting at in the red and white to the gentleman in the blue and white that he'll be covering. Now, here's how this thing is going to work out, okay? You've got man up at the top, of course, with the DBs and the receivers. Great. You've got man coming with this, I believe, nickel here blitzing. And with the nickel, you also have the Mike Cade Fordham blitzing. And you have Davin Van hitting the A-gap. And you have Brandon Cleveland, I believe that is, bull rushing the center as well. And you have Red Hibbler coming in the B-gap here. And then you have Sean Brown, who looks like he's blitzing. He's in a very blitzy posture, isn't he? It looks like he's leaning in to be a part of this dog, doesn't he? Well, he will be if the back adds into the protection. However, if the back goes out for a route, he has a fun thing called pitch peel, which means if the running back takes a path to the outside, he will peel off of the dog to go with the back. But the importance of that is that right tackle has to commit. The right tackle has to commit. The nickel is on the wide side of the field. Cade Fordham is also to the wide side a little bit. So is Davin Van, or Davin Van's about in the middle of the field there. And you look towards the nose and the nose and Red Hibbler, and they're both to the strong or to the weak side of the formation, or splitting it down the middle. So let me say strong side of formation out of the field. All right. So boom. When you get this ball snapped, what you see here is Louisiana Tech has taken the cheese. What do I mean by they've taken the cheese? Sean Brown is the cheese. He's the person adding into this blitz. It's a weasel, it's a wazoo, it's a fugazi, it's a fugazi. It's not real. He's not coming. As you can see, this running back is coming to the outside, so Sean Brown's going to peel off with him. However, the tackle slides over to him. Now, Grayson, you're a fairly smart guy, so I want you to help me out with something here, okay? NC State's bringing 5 guys, right?
Yes.
The back is peeling off here to the flats, correct?
Correct.
The tackle is accounting for a guy that's not blitzing, correct?
Correct.
So there's 6 guys to pick up our 5. What just happened to those numbers? 6 against 5 just turned into what?
Now you're looking at a 4-on-5.
You're looking at a 4-on-5. That's why That is why, Grayson's not just my co-host because he's lovely. The boy's smart too. But now, you have 4 on 5. Not only do you have 4 on 5, you have multiple guys attacking similar gaps. Now, why is that important? A lot of people say, oh, well, if 2 guys are blitzing the same gap, it's easy to block both. I strongly disagree. If your dog pattern is right, if your timing is right, 9 times out of 10, it's going to hit perfectly. The corner or the nickel there is coming off the edge. Okay, great. They're occupying that C gap. This guard is taking Cade Fordham, who also came, by the way. So that's the 5th man in this rush because you have 3 guys, and then you have the nickel, that's 4, and then Cade Fordham is your 5th. The guard is taking Cade Fordham. And then there's another A gap. The center is taking Brandon Cleveland, or the nose, who's head up over him in power rushing. The guard to the right of the center has to account for Red Hibbler, who's coming inside right away. And again, the tackle took the cheese, so he's not involved. That leaves you with an unblocked man. That leaves you with a free rusher to the quarterback. And I want to go back to the original slide here. DK Kaufman is circled for a reason. He's doing what we like to call being the robber. Being the robber means you take away anything hot, anything underneath and short, because when offenses see blitz, sometimes they like to call, oh, what's my hot? What's my hot? What is that? What that means is that's your first route to where if there's pressure and the ball has to come out as if you're playing hot potato. The robber is supposed to take away the hot here because generally speaking, there are some hots that go to the outside, but normally that's NFL arm type of throws. Generally speaking, your hot is something coming back to the middle. The DK Kaufman is in the robber position in the middle of the field, ready to take a ball away. The free rusher, that is Davin Van, gets in the quarterback's face and forces an air and throw. And look at it. Is that for me? DK Kaufman is sitting there. What a good guy these Louisiana Tech
You
guys
shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have. For little old me. And then at this point in time, it becomes about get shifty, be an athlete, and go get your behind in that end zone, which DK Kaufman did. But why did that whole Davin Van pressuring a quarterback into making a bad decision look so familiar? Why? For those of you who are listening and not watching, there was a pick 6 against Tennessee that was forced. And I believe, who's that guy that's hitting Nico's arm? Is that the pride? Is that
number 1 again?
Number 1 in the program and number 1 in your hearts? The pride of Cary High School. We got a very clear picture of him here against Turner. This young man, Davin Van, he's amazing. He's phenomenal. I cannot sing his praises enough. He has come back and led this team like nobody's business. And on this play, this was a beautifully drawn up blitz that, Tony Gibson called it perfectly. It was run perfectly. Most guys would be able to come free in this situation. But the fact of the matter is, it's not incidental that Davin Van always happens to be in or around these game-changing plays. What a guy. This play turned the momentum because I believe at this time we were trailing, 13-3?
17-6.
17-6. We were trailing 17-6 before this interception. And we were trailing 17-6 before this pick 6 was forced by Davin Van. What a guy. What a way to get after it. I mean, Davin Van is a special, special player who made a special, special play in a special, special moment where it needed to happen.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the senior leaders needing to step up in moments where sometimes the offense sputters in the mud or in quarterback troubles, a lot like what you saw last year in 2023. The defense, maybe more so than the offense in that 5-game stretch, took over games. Against Clemson, Peyton Wilson returned the interception, took over that game. Whether it was Wake Forest, domination, Virginia Tech, mostly domination until they crawled back in it there in the 4th, or the Dirty Foot Club, dominated on defense. It's going to take leaders on both sides of the ball that have to literally pull this program up by their bootstraps, pun intended, to keep this program on track. You're going to need efforts like that, especially this weekend against Clemson, if you want a real shot at making noise in Death Valley. So shout out to Davin Van. You are an absolute monster, and you've made a monstrous impact in both of the last 2 games. That'll do it for us here on Tuesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments down in the comment box. Tell us what you think about CJ Bailey officially being quarterback 1 until further notice. Let us know what you think about NC State's offensive efficiency on third down or really any down in general. And let us know what you think about Davin Vann being a senior leader on this defense, stepping up when somebody needs one. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We just hit 2,500 subscribers. Thank y'all so much for that. That is crazy for the two of us to see on there. Big shout out to y'all. We couldn't do this without you, and only the best moving forward as well. We will see you all right back here tomorrow on Wednesday. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.